As I made 2,000 rands trading today on EU. But first things first, let me start you guys off with um the proof. You know what I mean? Because the proof is in the pudding, right? Let me take you guys to the proof. As you guys can see, I am on my brokerage app right now. If you guys don't know what my brokerage app is, I'm gonna tell you it is XNES. Like, if you're not familiar with this, it is XNES. These are literally withdrawals all from today. These are the last 3 days. But the last 3 days I only made a withdrawal today. As you guys can see, 270, 430, that's the 700 that I took out, and then the 600 that I took out after making 2k in EU. I am going to show you guys exactly what I saw from the market that allowed me to take that, trade. But before I do that, I want to start here to show you guys, okay, this shit ain't no fugazi, man. There was a period where people had doubts about the brokerage. People were like showing real accounts. They were showing withdrawals on MetaTrader, not on the actual. Here's the thing: the reason why I'm not showing you guys the withdrawal on MetaTrader just yet is because that shit can be faked. You know what I mean? But on the actual brokerage, you cannot fake withdrawals. They call withdrawals refunds, right? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. As you guys can see, I have got the actual transaction history for here, last 3 days. As you can see, refund at 6:15, 6:15, and 16:57. As you can see, 1.3 withdrew for the day. Today, like, made 2k on EU. Now let me go ahead and let's get to the let's go to MetaTrader first. Let's go to MetaTrader. As you can see, this is the MetaTrader for, let me see what this is. This is for today, the withdrawals. Let me show you guys for the week. This is how the week looks. Let's go to EU. This is EU for the week. So I took like four trades on EU this week. Not bad. Lost 113. That is 75% hit rate. And then let's go to today. As you guys can see, positions on EU: 0.50 lots, 0.90 lots. That's like 1.40 lots combined. It's like, bam, 2k made on EU. Now that you guys have actually confirmed that this shit is real, let me go ahead and take you guys through the breakdown. So let's go to trading view right now. So I'm a scalper. I've tried different forms and different arts of trading, but I'm gonna show you guys everything that I saw, and I'm gonna take you guys through it. Right now, I don't have bar replay. I'm not gonna use it. I'm gonna just take you guys through everything right here. How I trade is a combination of SMC, and I couple that with support and resistance, and that's how I simply approach the market. Now, just because I'm a scalper, I do look at the higher time frames. As you guys can see, I've got all my zones mapped out. However, for this trade, I ain't gonna lie, I was really looking at it from the lower time frames. Now let's take a look at the 5 minutes. Right now, let me walk you guys through what's on the charts. Right now, I've got this Asia high mapped out right over here. Now this is an indicator that I use. That's my girlfriend. Yep, that's her. Hey, that's my baby girl. But anyway, I'm losing it. Let me get back to it. I got distracted there for a second. I almost lost it. But now this is the indicator I use. This is like Nico. It maps out the Asia high. This is an area of liquidity, right? And then this purple block over here, this is the actual the support and resistance area from the. So I only look at the hour, the 30-minute, the 15-minute, the 5, the 3, and the 1 minute. Those are the only time frames that I look at. I do not look at shit above the 1 hour time frame. So 4 hour daily, weekly, 2 hours You're not gonna find me there. Anyway, let me get back to it. So how I start every single like trading session, I trade London and New York. If I'm at work, I'm only gonna trade London, right? If I can't trade London due to like news or whatever, I'm not gonna trade for the day, right? But anyway, let's continue with the breakdown. So support and resistance, man. If you don't know how to identify support and resistance zones, leave a comment somewhere. I am gonna reply to the comments, and I'm actually gonna teach you guys. A lot of people think this trading shit is fugazi, but this shit is real. That's why I took you guys through the transactional history from the brokerage app. Now let me continue with the breakdown. No more distractions. Let me lock in. All right, so let me maximize this. All right, there we go. I'm doing this breakdown on my tablet, by the way. My laptop is really old. Yeah, I need to buy a new laptop. But anyway, so let's go over these things one more time. Let me just make sure the magnet is off over here. Yep, disable magnet. And then let me just, now that's out the way. Let's get to it. So this yellow block over here, this yellow rectangle, as you can see, it's the 5-minute support and resistance zone. I'm on the 3-minute, right? So I've got zones for the 1 minute, the 5-minute, 30-minute, and the hour. The 3-minute and 5-minute basically share the same block. The 15 and 30 minutes, they share the same block. So this orange, or this, I said orange, this pink block right over here is the 15 and 30 minutes support and resistance zone, right? This over here, yellow one where I'm at right now, once again, is a 3 and 5 minute. Now, why did I look for longs in a market that was bearish, right? So what do I mean by saying the market was bearish? Bearish simply means that the market is dropping, sellers are in control. Now let's start off over here. You're gonna notice that, oh, why did I move that? Now let me get back to it. You're gonna notice that we had some really huge impulsive candlesticks to the downside. These are the black candlesticks. So if you take a look at this over here and this over here, you will notice that these are very strong momentumized black candlesticks, right? That market is bearish. Now I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, it's bearish. We did have a break of structure over here, so this is a high. This was the current high over here that I just labeled right now, that created a new high, right? So let me just show you guys with the arrow. I'm going to show you guys my entire thought process, and this is how I was like, okay, I shifted my buys from looking for sales to looking to buys. And you have to think, I think like an SMC trader, but I execute like a support and resistance trader. I hope that kind of makes sense. Let me just go under the blanket, man. Ah, shit, I just dyed my hair, man. Fuck. But anyway, let me continue. So this over here, we had a breaker structure right over here, right? This is a breaker structure, a new high formed, but now we were approaching a 15 to 30 minute support and resistance zone, and this is before my trading session, so I'm not even looking at the charts at this hour, right? So keep that in mind. Let me just X out this shit here. Now let me go back to it. Now when I hopped on the charts, right, today I looked at EU at around 4 o'clock because I was just browsing through the pairs and shit. But anyway, this over here was the huge ass breaker structure, right? This was the breaker structure. We had the change of character right up here. The change of character, we had it right over there. Let me just label this here chalk and label this here BOS. Right, so the market is bearish. Now these these black candlesticks that I've highlighted in blue, let me just get rid of them. That was like, okay, the market's gonna sell. All right, now when it comes to TPs, I've got two type of TPs, man. I've got a 1:1 risk to reward, and I've got a 1:2 risk to reward, and I don't really deviate from those at all, right? At all. I don't get greedy. You know what I mean? I manage my emotions and shit. My psyche is in check. Anyway, now I'm back. You know, going to 1 minute because this trade was really made by the 1 minute. So when I hopped on the 1 minute, I'm like, okay, look at this huge ass motherfucking bears, bro. Bears are in control of this market. Now, looking at what happened just before I took the trade, I noticed that we had a change of character, right? This change of character was confirmed. This change of character over here, it was confirmed by this huge ass impulsive move to the upside. Once I saw this, I was like, okay, we could just be pulling up into our POI. Our POI is this over here, our OB. This is a strong OB because this is an OB at a zone that was used as a support. It's now turned to a resistance. It's a 15 to 30 minute zone, right? So normally I just enter here with like a 1:1, or in this case would be a 1:2 risk to reward, because our POI is below our moving average. This here is the moving average, right? So here I could have entered with the 1:2. I did not take this trade because of the huge ass impulsive move, right? So I had to wait, right? I'm like, okay, right now when I see something like this is a red flag for me to look for shorts. Even though the shorts would have worked, I'm like, nah, long term I feel like this is gonna go to the upside, right? So anyway, let me get rid of that. I wait and I wait and I wait, and then guess what happens? The market gives me a breaker structure. Now look, this breaker structure, it did not break the extreme. It wasn't an extreme breaker structure. What's an extreme breaker structure? So overall, remember that the market was bearish, right? This market over here was bearish. The market was bearish because of this drop right over here. Now prior to this move over here, as you can see, we had a lower high, we had a lower low, we had a lower high, we had a lower low. This is the last lower high that the market created. So before this gets broken, like we're still bearish, you know what I mean? We're still good for sales up until this over here gets broken, right? So keep in mind the market is still here at this, but I'm like, okay, once I had this break or structure, I'm like, okay, there's probably a support and resistance zone that I can pretty much identify. You know, there's something here that I can ID, right? So now I had to go back. I'm like, okay, let me see what I've gone a higher time. Like 15 minutes, there's just literally a bunch of clutter right over here. If there's clutter on the 15 minutes, best believe I can find something on the lower time frames. So I dropped down to the 5. I'm like, okay, I like how all of these equal bottoms look. Like, look at all, like close, open, same price. Like, look at all of these rejections, open and close, all of these. I'm like, all right, you know what? I fuck with this zone. This is gonna be my zone, right? This is gonna be my support resistance zone. And let's drop down back to the 1 minute. Now I've got a strong ass support zone that I'm looking at, and I know from experience that, look, once the market closes below like the moving average, however my bias is bullish, I have to wait for at least another close, right? The market does at least 2 closes below the moving average before it moves. Like, I know this from experience, so I'm just waiting now. I'm seeing a breaker structure. I'm not gonna take it off of this OB over here, because why? Remember, this is a support and resistance zone. There's a lot of buying and selling happening in this area. I've decided already that I'm going with the bulls because of this change, this impulsive, and this break over here. However, the war zone, the battlefield, the buyers haven't won that as yet. Now, we can only take trades from zones after we get a break above or below. Now, in this case over here, let's continue waiting for the market. All right, market comes, market drops. I'm like, okay, this here looked interesting, but we didn't get no breaker structure. Like this was like the latest high. Let me just draw that for you guys. This here now became the latest high. I'm like, okay, if I can get a break of structure from this high and then actually close above the resistance zone now, so it can pretty much hold as a support, then I'm gonna take that trade. But guess what? It didn't happen, and we hadn't really closed below the moving average again. So I'm like, all right, best believe you gotta wait, man. You gotta wait. And guess what? I waited. Market came. At this point, I was like, maybe my bias for buying is incorrect. You know, maybe I gotta shift my bias. But I was like, all right, wait, let me hold on. Guess what we did? We came below the zone and the moving average. I was like, oh wait, you know what? I think it's about to happen. Why? We closed once, we closed twice, right? And then I waited and I waited. The moment this candlestick happened, like this candlestick at like 1651, best believe I was like, you know what? Now I've got it. All of our entry signals have been met. What's the entry signal? Now let me take you on confluences. What are confluences while we're at that? Confluences are simply reasons as to why. You know, these are the reasons as to why I'm gonna take this buy. These are the reasons why I'm gonna take this sell. Those are confluences. You need to be aware of the confluences that go against you, and you gotta be aware of the confluences that go, you know, with you. So now the confluences that I had for this trade, let me take you guys through it again. Number one, we are in a higher time frame. That, remember, the high zones are the most probable zones. We did all of this coming from where? The 1 hour support and resistance zone. We had to change a character, right? Why was this a change? Because this, remember, the market structure before everything happened was bearish. We had lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. This over here was supposed to be our lower high. The market failed to create a lower low. Right, what did I mean by the market failed to create a lower low? Simply, the last lower low was this low right over here. Right, this over here was our lowest low. The market did not breach the lower low. But what did it do instead? Let me go back to my arrow. But what did the market do instead? The market instead came and took out our lower high. So guess what? We had to wait still. We had to change a character now. The sentiments has shifted from sellers to buyers. Look at the impulse. Look at the impulse, the momentum at which we changed character from bearish to bullish. You know what I mean? But it wasn't confirmed as yet. It wasn't confirmed. SMC traders know, bro. You have to wait for the market to reach your zone to then take a sell from. And SMC traders wouldn't take a sell from this zone. Why not? Because there's equal highs over here. However, I've noticed that SMC traders usually go for like 1 or 4, 5, 10 risk to reward ratios. However, I used to trade like that. I used to get stopped out a lot. It was very bad for my psyche. But one thing that I clearly remember that kind of shifted me to trading the way how I trade now was simply because I would enter a trade. I'd be up in profit. Let's say I'd have a 1:6. I'd go up like 1:3, and then I'd end up losing the trade. That shit is bad for your mental, bro. If you got 1,000 rand and you're like aiming for like 5-6 grand on a trade, you go up 3,000 rand and you end up losing money on that trade. Bro, I had like 13 losses in a row. I was like, fuck, I gotta, something is not working for me. So when I reviewed everything, here's what I found. And look at it, bro. It works. You guys saw this week, bro. I made only 380 bucks this week. But look at the like the trading, like the whatchamacallit this year, bro, like the trading results. 4 trades taken on EU, 3 won, 1 lost. So this was a very mid week, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'm gonna make more breakdowns next week. Let me continue with this one here. I got distracted again. I often go on tangents, but let me get back to it. So first confluence was that. Second confluence was this huge impulse confirmed by a breaker structure. Once I had this breaker structure, I knew that okay, I am good for buys. The one thing that I needed, or the two things more that I needed, was either number one, the second close below our moving average before we shoot up, or a close above the resistance zone, right? Because remember, support turns to resistance, resistance turns to support. If this is a resistance and we break above it, there's two things that's going to happen. It's either going to be a fake out, right? Or that resistance zone is going to turn to a support zone, right? Or like the market just might fucking move. It might be just like an impulsive break. But that's just three things I mentioned, but you get the idea of it. So once I had this breaker structure, all I had to do was wait for confirmation. You know, this over here was confirmation that okay, I'm dead set on my buys. However, just because I've had a bias, I've made a decision on a bias, that does not mean that I'm just gonna simply place a buy over here and like, okay, where am I gonna put my stop loss? Below here? Nah, if I did that, look what the market, it just literally wicked that, bro. You know what I mean? So you gotta have bias indicators. Oh shit. My girl's calling me. Shit. Let me pause the video. Shit. I gotta call my girl. I gotta call my girl back after this here. But let me carry on really quickly, man. I gotta get to my girl. But anyway, now that I found my directional bias, bro, I gotta wait for my entry now. Guess what I found? Entry was simply a breaker structure that closed above the resistance zone. This here further confirmed and reiterated by the second close below the moving average. One close, two close, breaker structure above resistance zone. OB found and trade taken, bro. This here was a 1:1. I'm gonna take you guys through more breakdowns in terms of what criteria do we use to simply hold. How do I know if I'm going to hold for 1:1? How do I know if I'm going to hold for 1:2? I did mention it over here. If you have a POI, if you are selling and you find a support zone and it's below the moving average, you can hold for 1:2. It would have worked over here. Now if you are buying, right, if you are buying from a demand zone but the demand zone is on or below the moving average, you just go for 1:1. Can it go for more risk to reward? Yes, it can. However, don't be greedy. Stick to 1:1, stick to 1:2, make your money, make your withdrawals. Let me go call my girl now. Peace and love.